welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for watching. So today I just wanted to talk to you about something that's really important to me, and I wanted to share with you how I have reduced my food bills and how I have also cut down on waste in general as well. So today's video is going to be a little bit different to how I usually do my videos, which seems to be a recurring theme of 5 of everything. So in this video I'm just going to generally talk to you about the entire topic of reduced price items, and I really hope that you kind of find it helpful. I'm going to be kind of talking about some handy hacks and some tips and tricks, so let's just get straight into it. So I've mentioned reduced price shopping or food in many previous videos, and I'm certain that they will, that this topic will come up in future videos. But basically today I just kind of wanted to talk about why I started buying reduced price items and how it has really helped me and how it is really in line with mainly obviously my frugal lifestyle, but also my minimalist lifestyle, my zero waste lifestyle, and my new plant-based lifestyle. So basically I'll pop a video up of an example of the reduced section at Tesco's. That's where I choose to shop. Now, there is divided opinions on Tesco's sustainability and their ethos as a company, but personally I like to think that we're not perfect and we are all on a journey of doing the best we can, and that's really all we can do. So obviously, just to kind of highlight a main point before I get into things, is that it's always best to shop locally. It's always best to shop package free, and this is always something that I try to do. I am lucky enough in quite a small kind of area in Devon to have a local zero waste store where I can go and take my containers and refill. But this isn't an overly popular kind of shop in my area. I feel like bigger cities and closer up to London and that kind of area is more of a popular thing. So just to reiterate that it is really important to try and buy locally as much as possible, to support small local businesses, and to try and avoid chains as much as possible, and to buy package free as much as possible, and to be sustainable as much as possible, potentially organic if that's something that interests you. But it's also about not judging ourselves too harshly. And this video really, I feel like I'm kind of gone off topic a little bit trying to put in that little pointer about shopping locally, but this video is really about saving money, cutting your food bills down, and also helping to reduce waste and making a potentially not great situation into a better one. So basically I started reduced price shopping or yellow label shopping. I started doing that a couple of years ago, before I really defined this as my eco journey, which I know I say a lot, and I hope that this doesn't annoy people, me referring to it as that, but I started reduced price shopping quite some time ago, and it was along the lines, well, it was around the same time I was trying to cut down on my meat consumption. So I will be perfectly honest, and I always want my videos to be real, and I want them to be a true representation of myself. Back along the reduced aisle was something that I would kind of walk past, and I know people turn their nose up at it, but I'll admit I kind of did the same. I didn't turn my nose up at it because I don't consider myself to be that kind of person, but it was a kind of a section of the supermarket that I would kind of brush past, if that makes sense, and I would think, well, that stuff's going to go off and there's not enough selection, and I want this nice new package of something, or I also thought that that's the food that nobody wants, so I don't want that either. And I'm being quite frank, that is a way that I used to perceive it. I think my biggest inspiration, ironically, for reduced shopping is my dad. Shout out to Dad if you're watching, he probably won't. But he was my biggest inspiration a couple of years ago, and I do remember, and I'll be quite frank about this, I used to see him go in the evening to, I think he went to Morrison's, and he would pick up his reduced items and he would just make a random meal out of it. And I remember looking at it thinking, but those ingredients don't go together. And as a Virgo, and as someone who has traits of OCD, I don't particularly like to do things randomly, and particularly with ingredients and cooking, I kind of like to use ingredients that match as far as I perceive them and that go together. So back along, I did kind of find the concept a bit strange, because you're limited for choice and options. And that's a hurdle that I have had to overcome in buying reduced price items, but I now would say that a good 80% of my shopping, I mean, that's a really difficult one to estimate, because sometimes 100% of my shops are reduced price items. I will literally just go to the supermarket and buy a shop entirely of reduced price items. And that's a really satisfying thing for me personally, to come out of the shop and know that all that's in your shopping bag, reusable of course, was reduced and was, you know, otherwise going to end up in the bin. I think it's difficult to average, you know, a figure in general, because I'd like to say 80%, but sometimes you can go to the reduced aisle and there's nothing in there. Other times you can go to the reduced aisle and there's absolutely loads. And on occasions I've found that there's so much that I almost feel guilty that I can't buy it all. So I need to I'm still learning to rein myself in a little bit with regards to that, because, you know, that's all about not giving yourself too much of a hard time. You know, there was a time in the past previously where I would have completely walked past that aisle and not given it any consideration at all. So I do believe that I have, you know, I've made a difference already, and I've progressed in myself as it is. So, you know, it's difficult for me to average it, but sometimes there isn't anything in the reduced aisle and sometimes there is. So it's a bit of a hit and miss kind of situation with reduced shopping, which makes it a bit unflexible, if that's a word. It means that a lot of the time, you know, there won't be what you plan to cook, and I will be doing a video about meal planning in particular. So I will admit it does make it a little bit difficult in that respect, because if you have a particular set of ingredients or a particular recipe that you intend to cook, and you go on the basis that you're only shopping in the reduced section and they don't have it, obviously that makes it difficult, and then you may have to resort to buying full priced items. Now, I use the word resort, which might sound strange because, you know, most of us go to the shop to buy full price items, but recently, and this is kind of the reason why this video came about, or the idea for this video came about, and why I wanted to really film about this, is because, you know, it's a learning process in progress. So, you know, it is a bit limiting in terms of choice, but a lot of the time I will just go in and I will make do with what's there. So, you know, as I said, in the video that I've showed you of an example of the reduced aisle, there was loads of things on that day, but maybe they don't all constitute a meal together. I kind of get satisfaction from the fact that I've prevented this food from going in the bin. And part of me, and, you know, correct me if you don't think that this is right, but personally I feel like I'm not supporting the production of the full priced items so much. Now, I know that might sound a little bit strange, because at one point the reduced items were full priced items. So I think it's about trying to support low waste as much as possible. So this video, you know, is more about being frugal, but it's also about cutting down on waste as well. So another thing that I wanted to talk about was the plastic that these items will come in. Now, obviously I am an advocate for doing your absolute best to buy plastic-free things where possible, or things that are in recyclable packaging. So obviously these reduced items that I buy are in plastic, but my view on this is that I've prevented them from going into landfill. I've prevented the food from going into landfill, and, you know, I've kind of saved myself money at the same time. If I'd have bought that item full price, it would have still come in packaging anyway. And like I said at the beginning of the video, it's always best to support local small businesses and to buy your food package free wherever you can. But this isn't always possible. It's not always possible on a low budget either. You know, zero waste stores, I find actually are really quite cost effective, but sometimes they can be more expensive. You know, buying organic can be more expensive. Buying from, you know, a farm shop can be more expensive. So it's all about not giving ourselves too much of a hard time and doing the best that we can. Another point in this video that I want to touch upon is batch cooking and meal kind of prepping. So I will pop some photos up of how I have turned, you know, a couple of reduced items that have cost me barely a few pounds into, you know, multiple meals. And I can often make the food stretch to, you know, meals that are under £1. Sometimes I've made meals that are 60, 70p. Now, I will kind of add there that I don't think that they would constitute enough as your main meal of the day. I think that you would have to probably add more carbs or protein to it, depending on what you like to do. You know, this is just personal preference. For a light lunch or a lighter dinner, you know, I can definitely on many occasions, and I do this every week, you know, I can make a meal that costs me 50, 60p, and then, you know, maybe I'll have a heavier meal later in the evening or vice versa. So it's just, you know, it's something that I have really been doing a lot more of recently during the pandemic, is reduced price shopping. So financially, the pandemic, I think, has affected all of us. Or a lot of us, sorry, but personally it has, you know, affected me particularly financially. So kind of focusing on cutting out luxuries, so to speak, and making do with what's in the reduced aisle, so in turn making do with less, has been a big part of kind of what I wanted to highlight in this video, and also, you know, what the pandemic has been like for me. So reduced price shopping has become a really common thing for me. Sometimes I will go, like I said, and literally only buy reduced price items. I like to buy sourdough bread from the bakery in Tesco's. Now, I know I need to buy from a local bakery as much as possible. However, if I'm already traveling to Tesco's, I feel like I might as well just buy their fresh bread whilst I'm there. Again, you know, none of us are perfect. It's about doing the best that we can with what we have within the budget that we have. So if, for example, I need to go and buy some bread, I will, you know, buy, I don't know, 4 or 5, depending on how much there is, reduced items. And so the shop won't be 100% reduced, you know, but I feel that I will have made a really good kind of impact on reducing waste. And I've also, you know, come out with, you know, a shop that was a lot cheaper. Now, I think my kind of quest to find bargains and only buy things on special offer, which I've mentioned in a previous video. So I try to focus entirely on reduced price items, but then occasionally if I need something extra, or maybe for a treat, you know, or other things that aren't in the reduced section, that you quite simply just need that particular day, you know, I try to buy them when they are on offer only. So I would say that since buying reduced price items, I've possibly halved my food bills, and that's no joke. You know, I would say that on average, I am spending about £20 a week on food. Now, I think that that's really good. Some weeks it might be £35, because I will buy kind of staple larder ingredients that are in larger quantities and that are more expensive, but those things will last several weeks, if not several months. So on average, you know, if you divided them out over the weeks and the months, they would work out, you know, possibly £20 to £25 a week on shopping. Sometimes it's 30, sometimes it's 10. You know, I managed to last week, I think, spend £15 in total that week, and that included some things that weren't reduced price, and I managed to do a whole week, so vegetables and fruit, and then I had, you know, my staples, like I've mentioned in a previous video on how to kind of be vegan successfully on a budget, is about having staple kind of larder ingredients in your cupboard, so pastas, whole wheat pastas, rices, beans and tins and things like that. So, you know, added to those things that I already had in the house, I managed to do a week last week with just £15, and I'm really quite proud of that. And so, you know, in this video, I want to kind of hopefully inspire you to give it a go. You know, we've all been there. I've personally walked past the reduced aisle and I thought, oh no, that's manky food, or that's the food that nobody wanted at the end of the day, or what am I going to do with that? But actually, oh my gosh, I get such a thrill out of going reduced price or reduced aisle shopping, because I don't know, personally, having such a strong desire to live frugally and getting such a buzz out of saving even just, you know, a couple pennies here or there, that's why I kind of really wanted to do this video, and I feel like I have kind of rambled a little bit and waffled off onto different topics, but like I said, this wasn't one of my usual ways of filming, which is 5 of everything, which seems to be a recurring theme. So it was just kind of a way to help you consider maybe, that there are other options to cut down on your food bills, and actually the food is perfectly decent, which brings me on to, I guess, my kind of final point in this video, which would be to not be worried about expiry dates. So obviously reduced price items are expiring that day, and that's why they're placed in that section of the supermarket. But often I don't know whether this will weird some people out, but I often keep that stuff for up to a week, and it is still perfectly good. Expiry dates are often just a way for supermarkets or shops to cover their own backs. And actually the look of something and the smell of something is your best indication as to whether it is still whether it is still edible or not. Things are often not as perishable as what we may think. So another thing that I wanted to add into this video is to not worry about expiry dates. Things will last a lot longer sometimes than what you actually think. However, things like cut up fruit won't last as long because it's already lost its natural outer layer, so to speak, and it's been prepared. And so things like cut up tropical fruits and melons and things like that, they tend to not last very long. So I think fruit is one of the ones where they probably will only last till the next day. But often, like reduced blueberries, for example, I still have some in the fridge at the moment. They've been there for a week and they are absolutely intact. Which kind of reminds me of what I wanted to say about reduced shopping is I tend to try and buy a certain amount of fruit because I always have a fruit of the day, as I call it. So every morning, as part of my morning routine, which I've also done another video on, I like to get my fruit of the day out. Now, all of my fruit is reduced price. I actually can't remember the last time I bought full price item fruit. I actually feel quite gutted when I go to the supermarket and there isn't any fruit in the reduced section. But yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is I'll buy a certain amount of fruit for the next couple of days to last me, so I have a guaranteed portion of fruit every day. So yes, don't worry about expiry dates. Food will last, a lot longer than what it potentially says on the package. Your best bet is to just use your nose and, make sure that it still smells good, or maybe give it a taste test. But it's actually fine. It will last a lot longer. I will say, obviously buying things that are expiring means that, you potentially have to go shopping more often. But, you're massively cutting down on your food bills. You're preventing food from going to waste. And I don't know, hopefully you may end up feeling as satisfied about it as I do. I consider myself sort of a yellow label queen and I get a real thrill out of going to the reduced aisle, getting a good bargain, preventing food from going in the bin, and making a meal from scratch that's healthy, particularly as a vegan. The reduced section with all the fresh fruit and veg is just really great. And making a meal, like I say, for less than £1 is really satisfying. And so yeah, I hope that this video has helped you. So there we go. I hope you found this video useful. I hope that it may also encourage you as well to try out the reduced aisle, or to incorporate more reduced price items into your food shop. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really means the world to me. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.